Because today is World Mental Health Day, I want to share a few of my favorite books that feature main characters who have mental illnesses. First up is Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gournall. This is an own voices book about a girl with OCD and agoraphobia and the cute boy who moves in next door. Obsessive-compulsive disorder is probably one of the most known but least understood mental illnesses out there, so this was a really important book and really helped me to understand what it's like to deal with that and to learn to live a life around it. Another great book about a character dealing with OCD is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, which just happens to be our book club book this month. You should definitely read it if you haven't yet. Compared to Nora in Under Rose-Tainted Skies, Griffin, the main character in History Is All You Left Me, has a much milder form of OCD, but it was a very important representation to me because his OCD manifests similarly to someone that I know and love, so it really helped me to understand that. And it's also own voices. I think most of the books on this list that I have today are own voices representations of mental illness, which is probably why they're so great. Next up is Damsel Distressed by Kelsey Mackey, which happens to be another book that we've done as a book club before. There's a lot of good WordNerds book club books on my list today. Damsel Distressed is a modern day retelling of Cinderella, where the main character has depression and she has a past with self-harm. Damsel Distressed is a great book all around. It has theater nerdiness and a cute boy and deals with wrong first impressions and getting past those. But what I really love about the depression representation in this book is that it's really about the fact that you don't have to be magically healed of your depression or your anxiety or whatever you're dealing with before you can find love and have a good life. I normally lean towards books like Damsel Distressed when it comes to mental health in books and that whole idea of you can still be happy, you don't have to have a terrible, awful life because of your mental illness. But kind of on the opposite spectrum, and still a book that I really loved, is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This book is definitely darker and sadder than any of the other books on this list, but it is appropriately that way. The main character has been through so much crap and so much trauma, and she's been homeless and she's dealt with abuse, and that has really left its toll on her mentally and physically and emotionally, and she has dealt with self-harm and she's got a lot of other issues going on, and it's still such a good book and it's still somehow so hopeful in the end. And I think that's what's really important when it comes to a good book about mental health and mental illness, is even if it doesn't have necessarily a happy ending, there needs to be some hope in the ending. There needs to be hope for that character and their journey. And this book definitely manages that while also being very real, very honest, and very gritty. Last up is one more former WordNerds book club book, and a book that I just could not leave out of this video because I love it so much, and that of course is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I think part of what I loved so much about this book and why it has stayed with me for so long after reading it is because it really was one of the first times that I really felt seen and represented in a book, because I identified so much with Kath and her anxiety. Yes, it is a super cute and sweet romance, and Levi is still the book crush of all book crushes in my opinion, and I love the fandom and the fan fiction and the family story, but one of the things I loved the most was just the way that it looked at dealing with anxiety and dealing with change in your life. Anyway, this video is probably getting way too long because there were way too many great books that I wanted to include in the list, and I just want to give one last honorable mention shout out to The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I left this book out of my official list because the book isn't necessarily about Molly dealing with her anxiety. It isn't a major fixture or plot point of the story, but that's part of what I loved so much about it, is that it really made anxiety and mental illness feel more normal and okay and just a part of life. I love that Molly's anxiety medication is just a casual little footnote in the story. It's not made into a big deal. It's not a big problem for her. She is living her life and she is doing an awesome job at it, and she just happens to have anxiety, and that was really important for me. That's it for today, nerds. Share some of your favorite books about mental health and mental illness in the comments, and I will see you guys this Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Time for our live chat. We will be doing our third video in our Nano Prep series. We'll be talking about outlining and plotting that novel.